Yeah, so a lot of my style, growing up I did animation. I loved cartooning, so I've always been involved in the pop culture side of things. I love bright colors, vibrancy, and childishness. I think that play is super, super important. So when I started to paint, I started painting like Pokemons. I literally just started doing Pokemons for people, and I realized, a lot of my influence came from my childhood experiences. How did I see the world? I loved the bright colors of the 80s and the 90s. I loved all the TV shows. I loved the architecture. I wanted to find a way to preserve that nostalgia, preserve it. That's my world. I want to be able to push it out. And so while it may have started with acrylics and paint and doing basically like landscape paintings of this beautiful area, it was kind of like the building blocks to the world. And now it has kind of abstracted itself and gone in different directions, but still keeping that nostalgic theme, which I think is so important. And a lot of people love to connect to that. So a lot of times I will get ideas inside of me, and it usually happens through my own experiences, like whether it's going out and being with my friends in the community, doing local events. All of these things inspire my work, and I'll just get light bulb moments out of nowhere where, okay, I need to sketch this down real quick. I'll pump out 10 to 15, sketches in my iPad, and those will culminate into an actual finished piece. And it's usually in bursts, I'll get that experience, I'll get that moment, that feeling, and I have to get it out. Because if not, I'll forget about it, I won't be able to do it again. And then I sit on those ideas and then bring them to life through mixed media. I use a multitude of different mediums, I think, now in my work. It started with acrylic, and now it's gone into me using spackle, from like Home Depot to create my big flowers and everything. I use a lot of tape to tape off straight lines for perfect geometry. I also started using epoxy now as like a way to show preservation and to seal my paintings, and have even added things like glass and other, different types of tools and stuff. And it's been so much fun to be able to take what my ideas were. I felt so limited by paint. I felt like, I want to expand. I touched woodworking stuff when I was little. I did this and that. It's almost like a way of bringing that childhood aspect back to myself, bringing your inner child back, and being able to experiment, which I think is super important in my own practice. Just being able to go, I don't know how to do that yet, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna learn how to do it. I'm gonna try to do it. I'm gonna find a way to do it. That resourcefulness. And I feel like culminating all of those different things really allows me to continue to even grow as an artist. And I've even noticed changes in development in my style just in the past few years. And while that's scary to think about, because you get your style going, everyone knows you for a certain thing, and then you kind of add new things, and it feels scary because you don't know how that's gonna go over, how is that gonna be? But it comes back to being able to be a kid again with art. I think right now I have at least 5 or 6 paintings that are just out and about. And then I push myself to do all of these in-person market shows because I want people to own my work. First and foremost, I'm not worried about being in a blue chip gallery one day. I want the people who really enjoy my work to love it and take it home with them, because that connection that they have with it like means the world to me. I definitely have seen just the art swap grown in general. I think because even before I started going and doing live painting, I had wanted to vend and do this and that, and I was like, oh, this is so hard to get in. How do I get into this cool art space for everybody? And once I finally got the chance to be in it was just amazing to see all the different types of artists that were there. Being able to see people who had come up to me from live painting and be like, I have a booth this time, stuff like that. So you can see and watch just by being in the community, watching people's journeys go up. And I think that's been really incredible to witness. Man, how do I feel about going out there live and doing it? For the longest time, I didn't want to. I was really, really nervous about that because it is something so vulnerable. But I have a love for performance in general. I don't mind being on center stage, being out there, doing theater, doing music. You kind of do get used to being a performer in that, right? But then even translating it to something like art, it feels different because it's a different side of you that, you know, you're so self-confident and assured maybe in this or that, but then dipping into the art, it was like, well, what are people gonna think? You know, all those thoughts run through your head. But then for me, I just go out there and do it. And I can't tell you enough how important it is to just do that, even if you are scared. Because I am absolutely terrified anytime showing your artwork. And even when I just started, I was like, I am terrified of showing this. I don't know what kind of comments are gonna come from this, how people are gonna react. And if you don't have that confidence in yourself and you're not checking with yourself, it can wreck you hearing, you know, all of that negativity. But it does get easier with time. The more you throw yourself out there, and you'd be surprised by what could happen, the connections you make with people. I've had people come up to me and tell me so many wonderful things, or even just chit chat with me. And I think at the root of my art really is that community aspect with other people. I love connecting with humans. Contrary to some other artists, I'm so happy to but to like pass on a piece to another person. I think it's just the nature of who I am as a person. I get a lot of enjoyment out of making somebody else happy and seeing the joy on their face. And if purchasing one of my paintings literally makes their day, they tell me a story about it, and I know that it's gonna be sitting in their office or on their wall for however many years, that just means the world. I can't think of many replaceable things other than, you know, people saying, oh, well, $1 million for a painting, you know? But knowing that these people get so excited, and I have people come from weeks past and be like, oh, I saw you at this other show and I really wanted this piece, or oh, I love your work. So it just becomes like you build up this like little support network of people that love your work, they love who you are. And I think that's just the amazing thing about people. So my studio ritual's interesting. I love listening to music. I think that's super hugely influential in my practice. You know, I'll dig through massive playlists. I listen to a lot of 80s remixes, 90s city pop, vaporwave, all that kind of stuff, kind of get me into the zone. But I love also having people around my studio. I love being interrupted and love being able to talk about what I'm working on, because when I'm in that creative mode, my brain is firing at 1,000,000 paces a minute. And sometimes when it's just too quiet and too alone, I will be so distracted from my work. You know, it's almost like I need something else, you know, bumping me in, so I'm on that streamlined thought. And then those emotions that I can carry from other people interacting with me during my work could also affect what I'm doing with the piece. I hope people really take playfulness and childlikeness and joy into my paintings when they see them. I hope it's kind of like a safe space visually for them to see. Somewhat reminds them of times that are no longer here, gives them nostalgic feeling, or even makes them proud of where they're from, where they come from. Maybe they're super excited about the colors and the colors make them happy. First and foremost, I want you to see beauty and joy, something that you can connect with within yourself. Yeah, you know, I think where the motivation comes from my core values and who I am as a person. I love human connection, connecting with other people, and so I think where I see even myself moving is more into public arts and working with other people in art. I don't really want to be that artist that's, you know, in the big gallery with all the, you know, 6 special people that are going and snapping up art. I think those are great freaking goals to have. I just want my art to be so accessible to people, because I want people to enjoy it, because that's the core of what it's about for me.